Welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Klein, co-founder and CEO, along with my husband and company visionary, Devin Klein.
And together, with our amazing team, we are going to help you push past your limits, not just physically in our gyms, but right here, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on the Burn Bootcamp podcast.
Together, we will take on challenges and break through barriers to transform into the best possible version of ourselves. We are more than a gym. We are a community. Your community. Let's go, Burn Nation.
Hey, Burn Nation. Welcome back to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I have a very special guest interview for you today. I have Cynthia Russe here from a handful of gyms. Started at the Fayetteville, Georgia gym. And she is part of the 85 South crew. And if you're from the Atlanta area, you know what the 85 South Burn Bootcamp crew is all about. And she's also one of the 14 stories that are featured in the Burn book, the Burn Bootcamp's 5-step strategy for inner and outer strength. And her story is amazing. I brought her onto the podcast today so that she can share her story with you to help you inspire, empower, and transform your life. So I'm just going to give it a nice go here. And Cynthia, you can pick it up from there. Correct me if I was wrong on anything, or just continue on your story, because I know it's always more beneficial to hear it from your mouth and your words. But let me tee you up. All right, there's really three tragedies to the story: cancer, COVID-19, and a broken marriage, all kind of hit at one time. And these tragedies all in a row. It's a wonder how Cynthia was able to cope with these things all together. But not only did she cope, she's a fighter. We can talk about what that means to you. And she got through them, all right? Not just through them, but came out the other side, a more focused, goal-oriented person, which has allowed her to really overcome these challenges and then be vulnerable enough to turn around and share her story with you, because so many of us go through these tragedies, but we don't think our story is important or impressive or enough. And so Cynthia sat here at Lake Norman, our flagship gym, and she gave a live panel on our book launch day party to 150 or so people at our Lake Norman gym. And it was so powerful and moving. I knew that I wanted to bring her on here to talk about the strength that she so exudes, both inner and outer. Cynthia, we're excited to have you on the Burn Bootcamp podcast to talk about your story, and welcome.
Thank you, Devin, for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, so just take us right into that, like unpack whatever parts of the story that you think are most relevant here: cancer, COVID-19, a broken marriage. The floor is yours to really add some context to this so that we can get to know, some of the lows, because without the lows, there's no opportunity for the highs.
That's right. So just to start at the beginning, just for purpose of timeline, I guess, at the beginning, I started in Burn Fayetteville, one of the 3 burn gyms of Burn 85, on March 2020. So right before the pandemic, I think it was about a week before everything, or 2 weeks before everything shut down. And I went because a friend invited me, and she had been inviting me for months. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to go. I've always been doing, other workout systems. And I joined, and I was hooked from that first camp. And my husband at the time had said, do not sign up. We're not going to spend money on gym, whatever the case was. And when I was there, I just knew I had to be part of it. So with a big fight, I joined Burn Bootcamp against, the will of my ex-husband. And the rest is history. I began in the gym. COVID hit. I continued my at-home workouts. It was just what I needed to boost, because I had been working out for so long, but I hadn't been getting the results. I was not in the right headspace. So Burn just gave me the whole compliment, even through Zoom.
And once you started taking camps, you were in South Carolina, I believe, at the time?
So I started in March in Burn Fayetteville, and I very drastically moved without having it really planned in May 2020. So I was living in a camper at the time. So I was doing my workouts in a dirt road, just whatever I could get in without
I knew
much equipment.
I knew I liked you. I knew I loved you. Dirt road workouts. You're a badass.
Dirt road workouts under the rain, under the sun, with horse, everything. So I just kept going because that was my sanity. It was a very hard move. My boys and I did not want to move. That was very, very like flash. It was like save our marriage, move, or we get a divorce now. And I moved. Everybody questioned me, but I moved, and Burn really kept me sane during that time because we were living in 100 and something square feet, maybe 80 square feet, I think the camper was. It was a very small camper with 2 bedrooms, and that was my getaway. I needed to work out every morning.
Yeah, and I can relate to you on a deep level, coming from the family that I came from. I watched, my dad tug my mom around different areas of the country, and that just created such a resentment in them,
Yes.
So I get it. And, it brings back some memories, but you kept moving, right?
Mm-hmm.
The motto of Burn,
Yeah.
you really embody that.
Yeah.
And you just kept moving, rain, shine, hail, it didn't matter. You were in your camper doing,
Yes.
and outside of it doing workouts, like you were going to do it
Yeah.
no matter what.
I loved doing it outside. I loved rainy days. I couldn't get on the computer on the rainy days, so I put my phone and I put like a little cover, but I loved working out in the rain. I don't know what it was, but I truly loved working out in the rain.
Yeah, back in the day when we first started Burn in a parking lot back in 2012, same kind of deal, right? So you literally embody the core
Yeah.
of Burn Boot Camp from the beginning. We would have these outdoor workouts
Yeah.
in the back lot of a gymnastics center. And
That's really cool.
we didn't have the opportunity to go inside when it rained. So instead of shutting down the workout, we turned up the music out of my car, and we'd be bumping gangster rap. I'd be back in the parking lot with 25 moms who loved it, by the way.
That's awesome.
And we called ourselves the Rain Warriors, and we would do laps in the rain, and it was amazing. So you embody that just get it done mentality that literally this company was shaped on. And so that was probably fun for you, not something that was you had to do, something you look forward to. But
No,
fast
I had
forward,
fun.
and yeah, you had fun. So fast forward into June 2021. So there's a little gap of time in there. You go from South Carolina to June 2021. You get some devastating news. What happened in that time, and what is the news?
So in May, I went to the doctor. I normally don't go to the doctor at all. And I took my kids just to kind of get established in the area. And I said, you know what, I'll just go to the doctor. So once I went, they did all the lab, everything was fine. And when the doctor was performing the last part of the test, she's like, there's a little lump on your breast. I'm like, no, there isn't. She's like, yeah, there is. So we're going to schedule a mammography for you, and we're just going to take it from there. She's like, I'm sure you're going to be fine. I was in great shape. I was taking all my selfies for my trainers because I was doing focus meetings, over Zoom or over FaceTime in some cases. And I got the mammography done. The radiologist sent me straight from that test to a sonogram. And I had I think he was 7 at the time, my 7-year-old at the time. He was in the room with me, and the radiologist came and said, if you think 2020 sucked, you get ready for 2021. You have cancer. And I'm like, I started crying. My little one starts crying uncontrollably. He's like, what's happening, Mom? Are you going to die? What's wrong with you? And that's how I found, even before a biopsy. He's like, you're going to have a biopsy done. They're going to confirm what I'm telling you, and you're going to have some lung months ahead. And
so you had no symptoms or no reason to believe
Nothing.
that you had breast cancer, and
Nothing.
you didn't feel anything, and you just went for a normal routine checkup,
Yes.
and they said, voila, here it is. Wow.
So that was
Yeah.
completely blindsided. When I got my biopsy done, it got confirmed, and everything just spiraled very quickly from there.
And yeah, so I can imagine how quickly you probably got thrown into treatment. Probably seems like, okay, cancer,
Yeah.
here's the treatment, and now you go. Now you're a patient.
Yes.
What was your mindset right when you went from some hardships in your life to then now you're literally staring death in the face.
So I got on my rebel girl era. I was hitting burn even harder. I went and bought heavier weights. I dyed my hair red from the tips. And I was like I was taking videos and pictures of me. I'm like, I'm going to do this and it's going to be fine. And then I ran into this, like, I call it like my depression phase. And I say it very lightly. I cried myself to sleep every day in the camper without no one noticing, if you know what I mean. And it was very hard because I was not telling anybody. I did not want to tell anybody. I was just like chugging it in, and I wanted to be strong for my kids, but I didn't know if I was going to live or how bad it was going to be. That was June, that was mid-June, and I got scheduled for surgery August 2nd. So today's my rebirth, 3rd anniversary. And and I got just thrown into this spiral. So in the middle of it, I said, I'm going to continue to, do workouts. I read a lot on the American Association for Cancer, and it's set to continue working out. So I said, I'm going to do nutrition even more because I was already meal prepping and doing all that. But I scaled that, ramped that up really good. And then I had a plan for my workouts. In the middle of all that, I was, separating. We were still living in the same roof in a camper still. But, I was changing cars and changing accounts and doing all this and just getting my life together before I got hit. I also homeschooled both of my kids at the time. So I had to get curriculum ready. I was just trying to organize my life for the next few months while I was fighting in my mindset. I'm like, I don't know what all this entails, Lord, but if you've got me, I'm going to do it. And it was not easy. I hit a very rough patch. Like I said, I cried myself to sleep, and I believe that prayers got me through it, because I don't even know when something snapped and I just got out of it, because it was, I cried myself to sleep 2-3 weeks and then I was out of it.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head. That's it, right? Those prayers, the ask, the energy that comes from that. And
Yep.
Look at you. You're such a badass. You literally, you're the external world around you is crumbling, right? You're moving into a new state. You're living out of a camper. You have a relationship that's going south. It's COVID. You get a cancer diagnosed, and you then decide that, you know what, this is actually an opportunity for me to be the badass that I've always thought I was. I'm going to dye my hair red. I'm going to take control of my approach and my attitude, and I'm going to show up and I'm going to dominate this. And that is why doctors always, prescribe attitude as part of the regimen. What attitude are you going to take toward this? Your story and both Tiffany Yeager's story inside the Burn book are very similar in that you took a devastating opportunity as you translated that in your head as something that is going to be positive no matter what, because it's my decision, and I get to approach this with my own attitude, my own effort, and my own beliefs. And I see that in you, and I hope that's what people see. I know that's what you felt, but it's very obvious. It was obvious when we met each other at the Chick-fil-A stadium in the Hall of the College. What is it? The Chick-fil-A College Football Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, we got it. So at the Chick-fil-A College Football Hall of Fame, we saw each other, and you had this look on your face. You were balding, and growing back hair. You had this look on your face of determination when I came up to you. There's 600 people there, and Jody goes, "Hey, she's over there. Cynthia's over there. Go kick her butt real quick." And so I came over, and you had this attitude of bring it on, trainer boy. Here we go. I'm here to kick some butt. You weren't there for sympathy. You weren't there to do anything other than to show yourself how strong you were, and show your children how strong you are, and that you're going to make it through no matter what. Yeah.
Yeah. I was so hesitant that day because I was wearing my wig and I did not want to take it off. And they were like, you need to take that off and embrace it. And I'm like, I can't do this, so I was trying so hard to keep my wig, but it just kept falling. So someone just pulled my hair and I had to do what I had to do.
That was a really cool, memorable moment for me. I won't forget that for a very long time. I get chills when I think about it today. But it's you. I really mean, like, when I say, I'm not gassing you up by any means, like, how inspiring you are is mind blowing to me. I mean, for you to go through all those things at one time, it's like we as human beings tend to place more fear and anger and frustration on like 1/10 of the stuff that we go through. What somebody said to us, sometimes is our most exposure to pain that we get in a year, and you got a heavy dose of it at one time. So as all this is going on, you'd separated from your husband, the medical bills start racking up. You'd be very easy to give up at this point. You kept a positive, strong mindset going through all of it. I can take a guess at what your anchors are, and I'm sure your children have mostly everything to do with it. So how did you use your children in a time of what everyone else would be perceived weakness, and how do you turn it into a strength using, the loss of love or whatever was going through your mind mentally with your children? Like, how are they a part of your strength?
So I'm going to try not to cry. So like I said before, August 2nd was my surgery day. I had a lumpectomy done, and I had two very special friends that drove from Georgia to South Carolina to take me to my surgery. Their dad stayed with them in the camper while they picked me up, and we went to surgery. When I got back home, they were both very worried. And when I see their faces and they're like, "Mom, are you okay? What's going to happen next?" As the following doctor's appointment continued, and I got my port in. I have my port scar, and my oldest was 16, and he was driving, and he would take me to my treatments. At the beginning, his face when you get out of chemo, you have a distorted face. Your eyes are crossed, your face is swollen, like you do not look like yourself. Even if you tried hard, I tried smiling for him, you do not have your normal face. You just look different. You look off. There's so much medicine in your body. There's so much medication that you just do not look yourself. So that first treatment, my son got me a Nutcracker because I love Nutcracker. My first treatment was at the end of September. So it was kind of leading to Christmas, and I kept talking about how I wanted an early Christmas that year because I love Christmas. And he got me Nutcrackers, he got me my favorite chocolate, and he got me flowers that I love flowers. But his face, I will never forget. To this day, he's a teenager, he's 18. I don't think he'll ever admit it, but I think he was pretty hurt that day. When I got home from treatments, there were 5 days that I was down. I got treatments on Thursdays, and I really couldn't move completely until the following Tuesday. Of course, my first treatment, I tried moving the next day because, you have steroids in your body, and I went for a walk, and that was the worst thing I could have done that day. While I was down, my little one would come to me. I am never still. If you ever see me still, worry, because I am never still. I don't sit down. I have to be doing something at all times. And all I could do was lay in bed, and tears would run down my eyes, but I couldn't move. I couldn't blink. I couldn't move, Devin. I was complete vegetable in bed for those 5 days. And it was pretty... You have to have a very strong mind or a very strong faith. I do not know how people that do not believe in God go through this, because I have no idea how we would have been through all of it without it. But my little one would come to me and be like, "Mommy, what is wrong with you? Can you move? Are you dying?" And he was just so genuinely worried about me, because He's not used to seeing mommy laying down and looking all weird how I was looking. So that was really rough. And I remember on my second treatment, I said, Lord, if you don't take this from me, I am going to get up from this bed and I'm going to tell my oncologist I'm done. I can't do this. This is miserable. This is literally feeling like you're slowly dying while you're living. And my kids were suffering, especially my little one. My little one always like pushed me. It's like, Mommy, can you please get up? Mommy, come play with me. Mommy, come do this. And it was just really hard. That Tuesday that I got up, that was my 5th day. And I planned chemo that way because Tuesdays was our co-ops. Most of the days I got there and I couldn't move. And my oldest drove us there. And I sat down and I just cried because I was in so much pain. And, I was walking on eggshells in my own home, 80 square foot, whatever the square foot was in the camper. And the moms would just rally around me. They would pray. Sometimes they would even go and get, clothing for me to be a little bit more comfortable while I was there. They would put money in my backpack. Every Tuesday, I would have money in my backpack. And it was like $500, $600, $700, $800, $900. I had gift cards. I think till this day, I still have gift cards in my safe that they gifted me. They did a meal, a little meal plan for me. I had so much food in my freezer to feed my kids. Everybody around
these are your burn sisters?
No, this was in South Carolina. People that didn't know me, Devin, I had only been 1 semester with them, so they really didn't know me yet, and they were complete strangers that loved on me and poured on me. I met my soul sister there. She was also going through her treatment. She was a breast cancer survivor, and then her cancer came back on her bones. She had over 200 tumors in her bones, and she was my rock. She was the one that came and shaved my head at the end when I fought it. I did not want to lose my hair, and it was hard. It was very hard. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror after I had to shave it because my hair was completely dead. The chemo kills the root of your hair, so it felt like I was laying on freshly cut grass, and it was very spiky, and I was very nauseous from everything. I did not take any medications. I said, if I'm already going through this, I'm not doing any medication. So I tried to, go with it as natural as I could, under the treatment that I was already in. So complete strangers paid all my chemo bills, all of them. I owe maybe $700 from my radiation. That came, a year later. The bill came a year later. But complete strangers paid for my whole chemo treatment, which was almost $16,000. I had my friend group in Georgia. One of the friends that came to take me to surgery, she did a birthday party, and everybody donated. She asked for donations for my treatment, so that was actually my last bill that I paid off.
And this is back in Georgia now. So you moved from South Carolina back to Georgia during this time?
No.
When did that transition happen?
I was in South Carolina from May 2020 to August 2022, and I finished my treatments. I finished chemo February 2022, and then I finished radiation April 2022. So people from Georgia were still helping me. They were driving to come see me. And then the chosen family that I didn't know I have in South Carolina supported me. I have a really good friend that I had enough time because they put so much steroids on you. And I had exactly an hour. I lived in the middle of nowhere. So I had exactly an hour to pick up my son and drive back home before I crashed. Because at the end of it, I was driving myself to treatments.
Wow. And so as you move forward past 2022, you are now your COVID is kind of on the decline. You're finishing up chemo, it sounds like, around the same time, or nearing the end.
Yeah, I finished chemo February 18, something like that, 2022. Finished 16 rounds of chemo.
And then when you were done, obviously once you have cancer, from the people that I know that have had cancer, they're never done. It's always going to be in the back of their mind. They're always going to be worried about eating cleaner. And like when you have what I would call, a near-death experience, whether it be the scare of cancer or just the feeling of being inundated with chemotherapy drugs, you have this near-death experience. What did that teach you about life?
Life is so fragile. I see life completely different. I am not willing to walk on eggshells. I am not willing to not live. I don't want to die tomorrow and have nothing to account for my life. I want my kids to have memories. I want my kids to say my mom lived. My mom lived. My mom was grateful for life. Life is precious and it's fragile and it's beautiful and it's chaotic. And in the middle of all the pain and the chaos and the craziness, there's such a beautiful purpose. And every time I wake up and I look at my kids every single day, I know that I was meant to be here. And I do not see life how I saw it before chemo. Everybody told me there's a life before chemo, there's a life before cancer, and there's a life after. And I did not understand it until now. And it's the reality. I never cherished my life more than I do now. So if there's something scary, I will run to it because I only get this once. I got a second chance at it, and I am not going to fear out or chicken out on anything.
It's an entirely different attitude, it sounds like, toward your approach to every day. You said that as your body was healing from, I think you said this in the book or to me in person, but you said as my body was healing from cancer and from the chemotherapy treatments, my heart simultaneously was also healing. And so talk to me just about that body heart congruence, and what do you mean by that?
So when you go through chemo, our bodies are so unbelievably amazing. God created us in such a unique way. It blows my mind every day. When you go through chemo, your body's so sensible. You feel so many things. I could literally feel my body draining. So I had friends that, because we were in COVID and chemo and all of it, they would drop off stuff in the driveway. So they would drive an hour from South Carolina to drop off chocolate, because I loved chocolate. I still love it, but I don't engage in it anymore. So they drop off chocolate, and I would just crave it so much, and I would just chug it in my throat. And then I had this 30-second sugar rush, and then I crashed. But I'm telling you that I crashed, that I couldn't move the rest of the day. So our bodies screams to us. Like, if we don't listen, they're screaming to us. And I could feel my body draining whenever I was doing something. Because we have the gift of speaking, because we have the gift of moving, we don't cherish how much energy we use to speak, to blink, to move, to just move your arm, to eat. We expand so much energy that when you don't have it and then you regain it, you can feel your body in a completely different way. So I think that mind-body connection is very real. It's not a cliche thing that we say in fitness. It's something very, very real. And I have learned to listen to my body in a different way. I had to heal mentally, physically, emotionally. I mean, everything. I was going to therapists for my chemo, for my divorce, for everything. And I will dare say that my cancer journey, I don't wish it not even on my worst enemy, but I'm very grateful for this journey because it has taught me so much. Blindfolds have come, off for me during this time. And just how can I even put it into words? Just the experience of going through it just gives you a whole other perspective of your body. And just that awakening in your body of knowing that you need to heal, that you need to push, that these circumstances are temporary. And I look back a couple months ago when I was going through all the chaos and the drama, and I can now say, oh God, you have such a sense of humor. You know, I needed to go through all of this to understand the why and the what. And I didn't understand it at the time. And many times I fought with him and I'm like, why do I need to go through this? I don't understand. I just want my body to heal. Devin, I bought this house on my own. This is the first house I own completely on my own. And I sat down looking at the walls crying. And I would go to my therapist and I'd be like, I cannot decorate this house. I am so fearful. I was so mentally, how can I say it nicely? I was so mentally devastated and defeated. I was always told I did not know how to do anything. I was bad at everything in my past relationship, let's say that. And I would sit on the floor and I would just bawl. I would cry my eyeballs out. And my therapist is like, Cynthia, just stick something in the wall. And if you don't like it, then you patch it and you move on. I have hooked up my TVs. I have built furniture. I have done so many things since then. But at the time, it was so devastating. And I had to get myself out of that hole. And it was not being by myself, by the way. It was all God's plan, and a lot of therapy and a lot of exercise and a lot of mindset. But getting out of that was just so incredibly crazy and bizarre. But I had to heal from the ground up. So I had to heal my heart. I had to heal my brain in order for my body to follow. Because if I did not dig deeper, as more as I keep reading on our bodies, most of our pains and aches all come from our emotions. And I was so defeated emotionally. I was so abused emotionally that I did not know who Cynthia was. And just healing and learning who I am, and I think for the first time in my life, actually genuinely loving who I am with all my imperfections, is what I needed in order for my body to be like, okay, let's get this going now.
Wow, what a beautiful recognition and display of self-awareness. Mm-hmm. Wow, because that's what holds most of us back from ascending to the higher version of ourselves. Mm-hmm. Everyone has something that helps them do that, whether they pay attention to it or not. You know, kind of hard not to pay attention to a cancer diagnosis and to, you know, your emotional well-being in your relationship. And the fact that you recognized that, turned it around, did something about it, chose your attitude, chose your approach and your effort toward becoming the best version of yourself that you could be, like, that is so impressive. And you know, that universal divinity, God, put that thing in front of you, that challenge in front of you, so that you could see it, right? And you chose to connect with it, you chose to lean into it, and it just, you know, I didn't know you before, like pre-cancer diagnosis. How you're saying there's kind of two lives, but boy, I can see you glowing now. Like it is blatantly obvious, the radiation and the glow that comes from you whenever you're in a room. And people here at Lake Norman, when you spoke to us, also felt that way. And I know that thousands of people across the world that listen to, I said across the world, people listen to us across the world on the Burn Bootcamp podcast. Okay, so you're going to be inspiring people in multiple countries here today, which is going to be part of your responsibility now, right? So, you know, as you go through hardships and you're able to connect with yourself at a deep level, there's a great responsibility that comes from that level of self-awareness, is to pay that forward. So before we I guess wrap up here, I would love to give you the floor to be able to say anything in your notes that, as you're approaching the podcast today, that you wanted to say. Feel free to speak right to the hearts of other women out there just like you or similar to you, or going through situations, people in general that are in a place right now where, you know, like you said, you can't see past your hand. So right in front of you, you can't even see why this is happening or how this is happening. What would you say to those people as a vote of your encouragement?
Oh goodness, so many things. I felt at some point, I felt through the last several years that have you seen this meme that you're walking out and there's fire just burning behind you. I feel that that's been like my life, like literally my life for the last several years. So I will say, just look for your peace. Listen to your body in every single way. If your toe hurts, find out why. Like, go deeper. Do not stay stuck. I even tell my kids, I'm like, let's heal all the trauma from even our childhood. Let's not focus on today and the problem we have today. Let's look back and let's see what happened and how we're going to channel it. You know, this process had me happy, angry, sad, furious, raging. I have been to the countryside and I have screamed my lungs out. And as much as a roller coaster as it is, every emotion, you need to find a channel for it. And I've been reading a lot on this, and the courage comes from that burning anger inside of you, but you channel it in a different way. So when you're angry, when you think you can't control yourself and you want to be snarky and you want to completely blow out, channel that emotion differently. And look at, I even do it with my food, Devin. If I'm going to eat something and I know how I'm going to feel at the end of it, I'm like, I'll maybe get a bite of it, but I'm not going to eat it. You know, I know how I'm going to feel afterwards. So try to always take a step back and be like, is this going to help me or not? And then channel all that emotion and try to, you know, you're not going to see it at the moment, but if you channel all that emotion, then when it comes out so beautifully. It comes out helping you. And I don't do anything today that doesn't serve me. I have learned to say no in a full sentence with pain in my heart. At the beginning, now I say no and my heart is glowing because if it doesn't serve me, I don't want it. And I have gotten rid of relationships. I have gotten rid of friendships. Even cleaning my house. I have gotten rid of things that I'm like, I don't need that. That's just a burden and I don't want it. And I am not a minimalist. I won't ever live in a camper. You can gift it to me and I won't ever live in one.
Not going back.
No. But just channel your emotions in a different way. It's so easy to get sucked into the rhythm of life. It's so easy to just be busy, busy, busy and not doing things that feed you. So think about yourselves. I was raised Hispanic and we were raised that it's husband and kids all the time and you're never pouring into yourself. And I don't want to sound cliche, but this is also very true. You know, you have to pour into yourself. I do so many things for my self-care now. And I asked my therapist, I'm like, how much is too much? Because I feel that I do all the things now. And she's like, it's never too much until you're like not taking care of your kids and things like that. So I can take care of my kids better if I take care of myself in every aspect. I mean, mentally, I mean, physically, you know, in every single way. So take care of yourselves. Think about yourselves. Is that means that you were raised this way and it's, oh my God, I don't want to be selfish. Be selfish. Do it because it's going to pay off. I'm not saying do not take care of your responsibilities, but you have to take care of yourself. You have to hold yourself accountable to what you want in life. I have done vision boards. I have done all the cliche, weird, you know, things. And they've all worked for me. You know, they didn't work years ago, but now I have stuck to them. I've been accountable with myself about them. So whatever you're going through, embrace the suck. That was literally my motto the whole year of 2021. I'm going to embrace the suck and it's going to be beautiful and I don't see it and all I see is black and fire. But I was walking through that burning oven and I never saw my footprints, you know? Hold on to your beliefs. Hold on to the Lord. Trust in the Lord if that is your belief or, you know, whoever you trust. But have your faith so strong in that rock that there's no storm that can sway you away from it. So stay true to yourself and keep your integrity. I think above all, keep yourself straight. If something's gonna make you sway from your integrity, don't do it. Don't do
Yeah,
it.
and you now choose to surround yourself with people that
Yes.
can empower all of those things. And so take a moment to just talk about your Burn Bootcamp community. And you've now went from member and now you're a part of the staff, and
Yes.
you it was so impactful to you that you're like, hey, you know what? I'll also work here too, because I feel
Yes.
like I fit right in with this. So how is your Burn sisters, your Burn brothers, the whole greater 85 South Burn Bootcamp family really been there for you through the ups and downs, and how much of your ability to walk through that fire do you attribute to the people in your life that do want the best for you?
Oh my gosh. So like I said, I started in Fayetteville, but then through all this Zoom years, different gyms were taking at different times, and I am an early bird. I've always been an early bird. And I remember this one time I couldn't move. It was already Tuesday and my body was like, you're not moving today. And I just sat in front of the computer and I cried, and I, through Zoom, because she was coaching a camp live, I begged for them to keep me on Zoom as long as I could. And the burn in South Carolina was an hour away. So it was not an option for me. And she looked at me and she saw I was struggling. And I said, I have to leave. And she's like, no. What can you do? She scratched the whole workout, Devin. And she stayed there with me. And I was laying on my back and I was moving. I was probably flopping my hands back and forth. I don't even know what I did. But I moved. And mentally, what that did for me that day was unbelievable. And that's how they all were. Like, they celebrated my wins. I got very weak because I couldn't lift weights. I was very weak. And the trainers made me feel like I was strong, and they were so excited to see me on the camera. Other burn sisters that I never knew were so excited that when I moved back to the area, they're like, oh my gosh, you are the Zoom girl. So everybody knew me because of the Zoom girl. It's like, yeah, she did Zoom for so long. And I guess everybody knew my name because of that, which was really cool and made me feel loved. And they were always calling and checking on me. They did, while I was going through treatment, they did the Pink Wednesdays, and they sent me pictures. So the support that I received from the gym community is like no other. I have been through several gyms. I have done, other, structures of workouts, and I've never had the community and the family that I have with Burn 85 South. From the trainers to the members, and now working in the gym, I just love the brand. I love what it stands for, and I love the integrity of the workspace.
Well, we absolutely adore you and your story, and love having you a part of one of the most successful franchise operations that we have inside of Burn Bootcamp. You guys in 85 South, you do an amazing job, and it's clear to see why. There's great leadership from Jody to you and to the rest of the team, and amazing training staff, obviously, that pulled you in even from afar. And it's really cool for me to be able to see that and watch it all happen, and just see that the intention of the brand, like, we set out to create a community unlike any other, that it was more important to pick each other up when we fell down than it was to get a six-pack, right? It was more important to see you for who you are, and to help you identify how badass you really are, like, be your assistant in self-worth. And it's been an amazing thing to see and continue to watch, as you can't transfer esteem to people that you do not have yourself. It's to watch you at Summit and in all these different environments now being an influence to other people, when at one time you thought, who would I to ever think I could be an influence? That wasn't your narrative. You found your true self, and to watch that all happen through this amazing journey, and then to document it in the book has been really cool. So thank you, Cynthia, for being a shining light in Burn Bootcamp, and for being vulnerable enough to be on the podcast with us today, to be in the book, and to share your story with everybody. It's extremely powerful one, and I hope people will forward this to somebody that's going through something in their lives, because we get to see when you make the right decisions along, when you, like you said, when you see only fire burning and black smoke, when you can stay on course, then that's true test of character. And through bad times, you showed yourself who you really were. And now you can show other people who they really are. So it's a very sweet thing to see.
Thank you. I
All
do
right.
not see myself like that. And when people tell me like, you inspire me, I'm like, I don't even know how I did it myself all the way.
We're going to see there's levels to this. Now we're going to keep working on that.
Yes.
All right. And you're going to keep sharing your story and things like this.
Yes.
And we're going to keep ascending you to the highest possible version to yourself. And it's all a journey, and there's no end game. It's just you continue to be more self-aware and continue to develop your character more and identify gaps. Where can I get better? Keep reading. I mean, you're just doing all the right things. So it's exciting to lead the company with you real time. Thank you for all your support and dedication. Yeah, for
Thank
sure.
you so much.
All right. Yeah, everybody, Cynthia Russe, make sure that you go see her in Atlanta whenever you can. What gym are you at on a day-to-day basis, Cynthia?
I'm mostly on Peachtree City now.
Okay,
Burn
go check her out at Burn Peachtree City and pick up the Burn Bootcamp book. It's available on Amazon at any gym that does happen to carry it. And you can check out Cynthia's story in the book and 13 other people in Burn Bootcamp's inner and outer strategy. 5 steps to it. All right, thanks, Cynthia. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you. Thank you so
2
much,
claps
Evan.
on 2. 1, 2.